So, good morning, everyone, to this beautiful morning where we come together for our global heart resonance. And it's really a powerful week because this is World Interfaith Week, where we have the opportunity to come together and really feel into this perfect reflection that we have today. Thank you, June. Encouraging peaceful coexistence. And as being mentors and being present for this vision of for good of the whole, where everyone feels valued, connected, and whole, that this opportunity to really feel deeply into our own place of presence as we cultivate in this ethos of wholeness outside. We have this opportunity this morning to come in deeper and to together nurture our innate capacity to live for the good of the whole. And I don't know about you, but I've been so aware of these relationships that abound around us, our family of origin, our communities, people that we meet in the street, people we meet in our market. How is that frequency of love that we are extolling expressing itself, and are people really being touched by it? And what, as being in service of the whole, coming from the myth of separation and this opportunity to bring this shift of self-preservation into a more coherent place. So that's really why we're coming here this morning. And I don't know about you, but I'm really experiencing that, especially within my family. And so this morning, let's just begin with this sense of peaceful coexistence within our own selves, to open to this sense of the pulsating rhythms within our own being, and becoming completely aware of that, and resting. We talk about resting in the resonant field. We'll just take a moment to really rest in your physicality, this temple of light, this sacred space of the heart. And allow your awareness to drop deeper. And feel that full envelopment of consciousness, that longing for truth, that longing for love, that every single being on the planet feels. And we become more connected to this emotionality, which is simply an ocean of energy. And when it connects with the heart, and when it connects with our consciousness, this higher mind, then that sense of choice, that we have a choice in every moment. And just allow yourself to feel that rippling of connection, of love. And this is really where peaceful coexistence happens. It happens within us. And then dropping into this ocean of connection and love, just gratitude for everything that's showing up. For it is always initiating and igniting a greater sense of well-being, a greater coalescing of what really matters, what's meaningful to you, and what's meaningful to the whole. And gently bringing ourselves back to this place of ultimate magnificence. Just taking a moment and noticing, becoming aware of the individuals and beings that are here with us this morning, and all of their connections, all of our connections. As we step in this morning, grateful to June, who's really bringing us forward in this week of World Interfaith and harmony, bringing that greater harmony. So I pass the beautiful virtual crystalline talking stick to you, June.
Good morning, everyone. This is June from California, and our topic today is encouraging peaceful coexistence. The purpose of dialogue is not necessarily to soften the differences among religions, but rather to clarify both the similarities and differences, as well as issues of potential convergence and impasse. A successful, fruitful dialogue often ends up in mutual affirmation of differentness, different viewpoints, and varying interpretations. That was by Mahatma Gandhi. The more we know and understand the differences and similarities in other cultures and religions, the less fear or resistance we tend to have to new ideas or ones counter to what we have known, and the more willing we are to coexist with others of different beliefs. In building a culture of peace, we must first respect our own values and worth, and believe they are strong enough to exist side by side with differing views. Humility, cooperation, self-trust, and forgiveness are necessary gifts to promote peaceful coexistence. We must be willing to accept that there are other truths just as valuable and worthy as our own. When we find ourselves willing to preserve, accept, and embrace a person's belief and value that at the outset we might fear or dislike, how does this experience open communication and foster greater peaceful coexistence? And I pass the talking stick back to the group.
I just want to bring in one more piece to this, which is coming in really strong, which is the joy of peaceful coexistence. That this is something to really celebrate, and I think that's all. That was just really important. And I'm complete and open it to the circle.
That's fascinating, the addendum, because, well, I felt compelled to, because Kate in South Dakota, I'm going to pick up the talking feather for a minute, to say just the addendum was quite interesting, because as I was feeling into where we were today, I just, the pain that we express and experience is that denied love, really. I don't know, it just kind of felt very strong and I know for myself, I've been insisting on ratcheting up, the place that I come from, who I am, making myself a better me, insisting upon ratcheting that up. And then on kind of a fun note, had a friend yesterday, in bulk or this midwinter day, as known by many, many things, of course, and St. Bridget's. And so yesterday, my friend, Wisdom Keeper, had a Rosie the Riveter party, she called it. And so three of us came dressed, in our work clothes. And so it felt like a collective ratcheting up is why I mention it. There was 13 women invited and 10 of them showed up. And we did a collective draw on this, it was a Celtic deck that's, familiar to Deb, the hostess. And in the collective draw, all the queens showed up. And a recognition of kind of how we've gone through, and they were all odd numbered cards. Anyway, we really felt like the semblance of here, us women, we're together collectively trying to, do our best to raise the collective vibration on this Super Bowl day. On the Rosie Riveter theme, it was just quite fun. And so in the mutual, I guess that does kind of veer off the top for the mutual codependence, and how I was feeling into that place of denied love within us is what is really a calling out. And, I once worked with a nurse who said to me, if we knew the scars of another man's heart, we'd all know how blessed we are. And I just found that one of the most profound and poignant quotes, and I think that speaks to coexistence. And those are just a few words that had to come through me from South Dakota, and I thank you for listening, and I'll pass the talking stick.
Thank you, Kate. I'm going to pick up the virtual talking feather. I'm feeling a sense of resistance. And the reason why is because for all of the years that we have shared this message, it does not appear in the outer world that we have actually incorporated the many into the whole. And so that I will just state that as part of my reserve. And that I absolutely feel what is calling out to Kate, that our denied love of the whole, of the awesome differences that exist, is what is keeping us from moving forward. We say that we are inclusive, but we're inclusive up to our comfort zone. And a lot of organizations don't push. They don't look for the unique. And yet it's the unique voices that may help us move through some obscure truth that we've been taught from the past. So I don't feel that we are there. However, I feel so strongly that this will not be silenced, that this movement forward will not be stopped, and that the 2020s are going to be a time when we rock the boat. And when we do so out of love and compassion instead of fear and denial. So I'm very hopeful that we will be able to continue to grow the dynamics that the seeds that we have planted have already begun to grow. I just don't see a lot of organizations springing up to support and to encourage personal change and personal evolution in the mix of things. But my maiden name, by the way, is Thomas. So that's where I get that doubting syndrome from. But by no means do I feel discouraged. It's just that I'm like Kate, I'm willing to move beyond my comfort zone. And a lot of my contemporaries are still avoiding that. So I will just let that be in the circle. Know that it is my joy that we are different and that we are individually moving forward. And maybe just enough of us haven't yet. I don't know. I'm not a wise woman. Don't know. Mhm.
This is Dinah in Oregon. And we are in transformation.
Mhm.
Uh, we are consciously creating collectively.
Yes.
We are creating our experience as a whole. This is exponential. And each one of us is the one expressing the whole of us. And the peaceful coexistence for me is the place of honoring me where I have held back my love. And this is how we are collectively co-creating. There is great power and for now it is me building my own confidence to show up as the whole. And so it is.
What's coming through for me from that is that we are all individual expressions of the whole. So as we boost our individual selves, we boost the whole. As we grow our individual selves, we grow the whole. (2020) numerologically is a 4-year, which is a foundation. I think that all the seeds we planted are ready now to create that foundation that cannot ever be replaced and go away. I believe we are in transition. Cassandra, you are a very wise woman. So don't ever think you are not. And that's all I'm getting for right now. So I'm complete for now. So thank you all.
Morning, everyone. Wow. I keep asking myself these questions. How did this happen? How did this life get to us on this little rock in the middle of this huge universe? How did we get privileged enough to be offered this conscious awareness of a process where we've moved from the unity of plant life, of animal life, to this incredible experiment that we have that we're trying to make sense of? It's almost like the cosmic joke, and in a way, and yet it's an amazing possibility that we have. And there's only one piece, and that is to remember the unity of the whole that was there before this experiment started. So whatever the divine intelligence is, the divine intelligence says, and of course, metaphorically speaking, let's give this opportunity to this collective and see what they do with it. Well, so far we've seen what we're doing with it. When we talk about pain and violence and rage and everything, and the separation that we're experiencing, I have to trust that the divine intelligence says, but of course, to have that mirror shown back to the divine intelligence is going to be less than perfect until we rejoin with the divine intelligence, with the singularity. And so we're going through this, what appears to be insanity, and yet everyone here, at least in our group, and I want to say where Shelley started this morning with, can we walk down the street? And if we are in that divine union within, is that expression opening the divine union in others? And I have to believe, yes, some not ready, some maybe never in our lifetime. And yet, if we are reflecting that divine intelligence, that beautiful love that's being given to us as we rest in the resonant field, we're doing the best we can. And in doing the best we can, we begin to grow and become more refined. And I do trust that we are coming into a unified experience together. Maybe slow, may not happen in our lifetimes, but our contribution is leading back toward that space. And I love all of you for joining and reflecting that divine intelligence for me to hold in my heart, so that then that reverberation, that vibration can be sent out. And I feel it, I sense it where I am today compared to where I was 10 years ago. When I'm in the presence of others and there's a smile on their face, my sense is it's because that divine love is being shared at some level, and everybody gets it at some level. And we're doing the best we can with that. As we let go of these, you know, it's really, really difficult to watch this whole thing that's transpiring around the lack of diversity. And the lack of diversity, we're all in that space. It's become we're dealing with the breakdown of the duality. So we can have unification within what we feel is a belief structure that is toward the good of the whole, and the other side is resisting that. And we're locking heads on two basic belief systems. And yet within that, as we can see with our group, we are holding a space that is dissipating those belief systems in order to come into the whole. And I just feel like the team that we are is growing. In fact, even in microscopic ways, it's doing its job. And it's doing its job through us, and we're reflecting that back. And I believe the divine intelligence is happy. And I'll let it go with that. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is June again from California. And as I'm listening, what's coming in are all these experiences I've had in the past where I've had to look at something that's very different from what I believe or from what I have been exposed to. And what were my reactions to it? And the first was working with John Lilly around beliefs, and his major belief was that all beliefs are to be transcended, that at some point we must raise above what it is and include more and reach a different place. And that was an incredible 2 weeks I spent with him on a workshop. But the biggest thing about getting hit all of a sudden with something that you weren't used to was the fact that when I arrived, everyone was sitting around naked in this workshop. And I'm standing there totally unknown about what was going to go on. They didn't know either. I guess as each one came, it was introduced. And talk about having to look at a belief system and what I was going to do with it. And someday I'll say what I did with it, but I worked through that for the 2 weeks. But then another, probably the biggest influence I've had in being able to accept and work with other people's belief systems is my experience with Sufi stories. I took Sufi stories for many years with absolutely wonderful gentlemen and was introduced. Sufi stories are just stories written by Bart Coleman Barks is one of the wonderful authors of it. But you sit in a room with other people, and each person reads a paragraph, and then you pass it on until the book is, or the story is read. Then each of you says what you saw, learned from that story. And as you go around, you're not allowed to say anything about what anyone else says. It's just what you say, and then you hear what everyone else says. And as you're going along, talk about the awe that Shelley, you talked about. It's like, oh my God, how did they interpret that out of that story? And by the time you get around a room of 10 or 15 people, you have oftentimes close to 10 different interpretations of that story. And yet they don't collide with any other thing. They simply are a different way of taking information and creating it in your head as to what it means. And there's such joy in that, to be able to say, wow, how did that person see that? And why didn't I? What was it that kept me from seeing it from that point of view? Not to make myself wrong, but just to see how my belief systems or my way of looking at things, are more in a box, as most of us are, until we're willing to really accept and enjoy and embrace those different ways of looking at the very same thing. So I'm just really excited about letting myself climb to the next belief system, the next way of looking at things without fear, without doubt, just by being aware that if I'm strong in myself, I can accept and open to anything else that's out there. It's only my own fear that would get in the way of my opening to and accepting something else that I hear. So thank you all. I love being here with all of you. And I'm complete, and I pass on the talking stick.
The world is a reflection of me. And I'm hearing live resonance. Be living resonance. And that's our invitation. The peaceful coexistence is within. And that is loving ourselves unconditionally and allowing our darkness, loving our sadness, our grief, the whole of us. And that reflects and transmits into the world and our collective experience as a whole. I'm complete.
This is Sharon in New Jersey. If the world is a reflection of me, it's a bit confused at the moment. The theme today just touched me in a whole lot of different ways. It seemed like my world is mirroring, just what you're saying. I mean, you're speaking to what my mind is absorbing, but it's bouncing around here. It's not settled. The threads that are coming together are one, I did a little bit of work this week on Elizabeth Warren's campaign politically, made some calls, got involved a little bit, and this theme of peaceful coexistence, how do you coexist with the beliefs that are very antithetical to your own, and to what you're wanting to stand for. Then I just am in the very last 5 pages of rereading this book from that Deepak Chopra wrote called Lords of Light, which is a novel that he co-wrote. And the reason I read it is that it was on my bookshelf, and it was on a bookshelf that I see as I walk in and out of my bedroom every day. And I've noticed for the last month or so that it was laying horizontal to the other books. And then one day I came out of my bedroom and it wasn't, it was up. And I didn't remember moving that book. And so I asked my husband the next day or so, I'm like, did you move that book? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, I got to just read this book. So it's like, it moved. So I read the book, and it was totally not what I expected. I totally didn't remember it, but it was very disturbing. And the theme of this book is that the world is a mirror of what you believe. I mean, it seems to be coming to that. And that and that we all have fear, we all have good and bad in us. And in our denying that, and in our being afraid of who we are, what is inside, then we create it and manifest it. So we see all this craziness around us, but maybe it's in there too. And how do you come to peaceful coexistence with that? And then what choices do you make from there? That aren't coming from love, that aren't coming from fear. So the things you've said today about not coming from fear and coming from resonance and coming from love, that's what we do. But then we are still confronted with this world around us that keeps reflecting maybe choices we made before. And we have to keep making choices we knew and standing strong in those values we have, and not getting distracted, I guess, by what we see around us. And I also, yesterday, celebrated Imbolg with a friend of mine who had been wanting to do that. And so we did some prep work and some cleansing over the course of the week and did readings in the morning. And actually my reading, she got all the queens, right? But I got the lovers, and I got the Two of Cups as the outcome, and the lovers as the significator. And the Three of Wands was crossing, which is seeing, clear perspective, the crossing card from the past to the future. The Three of Wands, he's standing looking out. There are three wands and there's ships in the water. So I always understand that card as having a bigger perspective. So trying to see more clearly and have a bigger perspective and know your ships are coming in. That's the other thing you can associate with that. So that's all what's rustling around in this head. And it's also going to be almost 60 degrees here today. So I'm going to get outside and see what's coming up. My husband dragged me out to see that the daffodils are pushing through today. So we're at the Imbolg is halfway between the winter solstice and the March equinox. So the light, they compared it to if you're pregnant, you're just showing. So this, you're coming towards a birth. There's more light emerging right now. So those are my reflections and musings on this theme for the moment, and I will pass the talking stick back.
Good morning from California. It's only going to be 60 today. It was 81 a couple days ago, and now we're in a cold spell, or it's going to be freezing at night. Well, so I'm taking all of this in, and I'm noticing that when I'm in my head, I'm into more fear, confusion about all the things that we're sharing. But if I get out of my head, I'm remembering, and this is why I love being with all of you every week, to help me remember. It's kind of more what I intuitively know, that who we are and coming together and what we're all doing individually makes a huge difference. And we're part of this pioneering journey. And it reminds me of years back when I was a teacher back in the early 80s. And I had a group of teachers, real forward-thinking teachers. It'd be like this kind of group. And it was led by Jack Canfield before he wrote the Chicken Soup books. And he was actually a teacher originally as well. And Jim, I'm on the live talk, honey. And he, so, sorry, I got to get my thoughts back together now. So Jack Canfield brought us all together. And there was a lot of frustration. It was a group of teachers that were going to working with self-esteem in the classroom and bringing some of the tenets that we're discussing every week here into education in the classroom. And it was frustrating because it was new ideas and it was pioneering and the whole thing. And we were a bunch of forward-thinking teachers. And I remember the moment where he shared a comment that rings to me now because I remember the moment when he said it, and it's how I was feeling today on this Zoom we're on. He said one day, you know, we may never see these changes in our lifetime, but we are the change. We are the pioneers. And it just gave me a whole new, it was okay not to have it right now, but that right now we were the co-creators of it. So that's how I was feeling today as I'm listening. I'm like, wow, we may not see what we're looking for, but I know we all know we came here on this planet to to work together, to find each other again, to find others, and to make a difference. And so if I get out of my head and I get into my intuitive knowing and my deep heart, then I know we are creating this peaceful coexistence. And I'm appreciative that we get to experience it in real-time reality with each other, not just on Monday, but if we just think of each other and be grateful that we have each other and the other circles that we have, it makes it okay to go through the frustration. So that's my musing for this morning, and I send the talking stick back. Much love.
So this is Shelley, and I see all those little cards, and what I saw in applause was pause. In feeling into this tapestry and this such dedication and love that each one of us brings forth through our words and, you know, our willingness to show up and be as present as we can be. A few things are coming to me, because number one is I'm experiencing the world is already cohere. It's already in its most highest frequency. And we in our humaning are learning to attune to that. And what's amazing to me is how is it that this morning I get a call from my mother who's flipping out because she gets this email from my brother that says, we want to come together. We want a face-to-face family connection. And she's calling me and she's going, why do I have to get on face-to-face? You know, what's going on? I don't want any surprises. And I feel that if we're really expanding our awareness to feel into the given circumstances of each of our own lives, we see how in tune with nature and the spirit of nature and the spirit of love as it's evolving us. I love that, the ratcheting up, right? You know, and when I, at least when I watch someone use a ratchet, it's like they're tightening up so that everything holds together more coherently, right? And, you know, I just feel that it's just such an invitation to us to be careful, be cautious of how we're closing down, even in our thinking. And that with opening, like I can feel this in my belly, it feels like, you know, it's opening to that sacred union. This morning, I was amazed that there was a word of the day, and I went to look up again, Heros, what Heros means, and it means sacred. And Heros Gamos means sacred union. We tend to think of it as sacred marriage and a man and a woman and all this stuff, but it's actually this experience that we're having here. It's where we're coming into a deeper sacred union of who we be. And if we can just not get so, you know, if we can embrace the whole, the totality of ourselves, which I feel like we're doing here, we're inviting each other to embrace that more and more. That's why we come here, or at least that's why I come here. I feel that. But also that in this experience of peaceful coexistence, creating a realm. Like, how is it that my brothers all of a sudden are coming together? These guys, like, are like this, or have been, or I've been cut off. My brother decides, I'm cutting you out of my life, or, how people tend to do that. And it's amazing to me that coming together, or the attempt to come together, because that's what we're really doing, and to learn how do we, and I love, what's being brought forward, living resonance, because that's who we be. We be this expression. And if we can be careful of not getting so caught up even in our disappointments, what is that? How am I creating that disappointment in my life? That I can't see that these changes are actually happening. So I'm just inviting myself to expand my consciousness, expand my relationship with the love itself. I'll just end with this piece, and what would love do in this circumstance? How would love respond? I feel like that's something that's really digging itself into my heart, and move from my own self-separation to this unified frequency that makes everything shift and change in the minuteness and the micro and the macro, because it is changing. And if we open to ask to be shown, it will show us that things are happening, and we will see this in our lifetime. Maybe not in the huge gamut that we expect or want, but actually that it's changing in every moment. So I just thank you so much, everyone, and I'm complete. And put the talking stick in the middle.
Hello, everyone. There's this beautiful saying among people of color, take me to church. And that's the kind of dialogue that is both calming and soothing if you personally are feeling a little ruffled, or whatever it may be. It may be about lifting you, inspiring you, encouraging you. And I feel more weeks than not that each time that I show up here, that you're taking me to church. So thank you very much. Mwah! I love it.
This is Grace from Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. And I've just been listening to all the beautiful words of peace. And was actually, I work, my office here is in Corporate Drive. So it's a lot of corporate office buildings. And Mitch McConnell's state office building is catty corner to my building. And so I was walking around, and I was just able to walk by his office with love and peace. And I walked one block around, came back around, said, I'm going inside his building. I haven't been inside for 3 years. We had a little entanglement 3 years ago that ended up with the Army on me and IRS on me. So I tangled before, but I went in again. I said, I'm going in with love and peace in my heart. Looked in the office, saw the secretary, and walked by. Didn't go in, but I walked, and I was able to leave with love and peace. And so I really felt that resonance. If I carry this resonance of love and peace in my heart on some energetic, will other people feel it? And so it's about holding that love and peace, that energetic frequency that others can feel. So thank you all for providing this field of love and peace that we can carry it out to others, of all others. And if I'm gone next week, I'll let you know. So.
Good morning, it's Deborah. I'm in such congruence with John's words and so many words and that have been shared here this morning. Such deep appreciation, and my just little pieces to offer have to do with the glimmer that in Bullock has opened, I feel, and how Brigitte has showed up for me in a very real way and helped me clean my house and helped me change and order things in a way that I had been stuck in inertia. And so I guess one of my feelings, one of the things I want to share has to do with the waves of energy that I experience of, you know, walking the light, despairing about the darkness, and just doing the next thing and finding the amazing radiance of gratitude, which echoes and reverberates in all of my cells and has me connected to oneness. And those moments, all of them come and go, and so we are adrift, and it's all perfect. So thank you so much once again for being here.
Hello, Jess here in Wales. I just wanted to say thank you for the group energy and the field, the auric field, the energy field, the conscious community that's created with the global heart resonance. And yeah, we may be a small little Zoom group, but I do believe that it ripples out. So yeah, I think that's one thing I wanted to say. And I was also touched by when June was talking about all beliefs are to be transcended, and that resonated deeply, because I do believe that beliefs can be quite limiting and keep us in a small box. And yeah, and just finally to say, Cassandra, you are a wise woman. It's wise to say you don't know. There's a huge amount of wisdom in not knowing, and with great respect, I pass the feather and stick back.
Hello, everyone. This is Michelle from Minneapolis. And so happy and grateful to be here and to be a little refueled by the love that is fully present on these calls. And just feeling immense gratitude for the awareness of the opportunity I have to go through this world with a perspective of being able to see how love is flourishing in our world, and that there's still many who want to be embraced and who are yearning for that connection in that, and that we're actually paying attention to the other, and knowing that really there is no separation. And if we really believe in the whole and the one, and just as it's been reflected here today in that all is us, and when we go internal and really sit with that it's beautiful and whole and loving, and we get to receive it because we have that awareness. So thank you, grateful to be here today.
So Oriana, if you want to jump in, feel free, and then we'll move forward.
Well, actually, I just was appreciating the resonance and just feeling the field that we hold here, and I'm just and I really think I came to hear Grace's message. Stepping into the lion's den and having that courage and holding the peace and serenity in the container of courage. I so appreciated hearing that. So we will hold that courage and in peace and serenity with you. So thank you all, and just appreciate being here.
Yes. So let's just take a pause. Just honoring the silent space with gratitude and love and appreciation for everything that's moved here. And just allowing this living in resonance to permeate our cells. And before we close, I just want to invite everyone. This Wednesday is our public mentoring stewards call to really invite people. We are actually going to open the way for World Interfaith Harmony Week and Healing Women, Healing Water. We're going to bring that all in. We may even do some small water blessing. Invite you to come bring your wisdom and your love and your expression into that field. So it's a really powerful way. We will be spreading it out and inviting people to come join us. And from there, we'll direct you to the opening ceremony of Healing Women, Healing Water, which is happening in the Holy Land, which focuses really our coming together in that communion of connection and love and resonance, and creating this expansion of this peaceful coexistence. So please come play with us, come join. Please share when you see an email so that others can be invited into this space of this coherent wholeness. And I'll end with a little quote from Julie. Imagine a world where we literally celebrate our differences. And may you take that into your week and into your every moment with whomever you're with. So with that, I invite everyone to take yourselves off mute, and we can very gently send this and ripple this out in whatever form you want.
Yum, yummy, yum,
Yum, yum.
Aloha.
Hola.